Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Yariel, and I'm trying to take you guys through my investment journey as I try to save up money for my future plans and eventually for my retirement. So far we've talked a lot about kind of the portfolio that I started building in the beginning, and one of the stocks that I bought early on, Fire, the Supreme Cannabis Company, has been growing pretty well, although it kind of crashed in the last week or so. But I predicted that in the last video, and I hope and expect it to start growing back up in the coming weeks, months, and even years. So we're going to hold on to that stock for quite a while. That being said, it's now been about 2 weeks since I started investing, and I'm really starting to look into diversifying my portfolio a little bit. Some people might consider it to be early, but I still want to start to look into other sectors of the stock market that we can look at and to start to diversify my portfolio so that if one sector is hit, the other one might not be, and it'll kind of adjust. The second sector that I want to talk about, of course, is the energy sector. I think I've seen a lot of articles in the last couple of days that Warren Buffett, CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, has been, doubling down on his investments in the energy sector, and I think it's a great sector to invest in because we're always going to need energy. As a society, as a modern society, we've created ourselves a certain standard of living where energy is an intrinsic part of it. And so it's going to be a sector that is going to keep growing. I think that some parts of this sector and some companies are going to grow more as our needs as a society evolves. And that is why, personally, I'm going to be investing in biogas for now. I'm open to investing into other stocks later, but I decided to start investing in biogas first. Why? I think it's the subsection of the energy sector that is going to grow the most in the coming year or two, where we're going to see the petroleum companies are going to keep growing, such as Exxon and Chevron. We're going to see those big companies keep growing. But as the demand for petrol is going to decrease year over year because we're moving towards electric cars, we're moving towards renewable energy, we're going to see a decrease in the demand, which is going to lead to the smaller companies getting starved out by those bigger companies. I think that we're going to see in the coming years that the smaller companies, the ones that you can currently buy for a couple dollars on the stock market, are going to, they're going to keep going up because of the crash that happened, last year because of the COVID pandemic. But when they reach back those levels that they were at before the pandemic, they're going to come back and decrease like they were before. I think if you look at most stocks in the petroleum industry, you're going to see that over the past 5 years, there's been a steady decline in the stock prices, and that is mostly because people aren't using petrol. They're not using gas cars as much as they were in the early to mid 2000s, even in the early 2010s. Tesla being a huge factor for this. And so I think biogas is a sector that is very much ripe for inflation in the coming years. So what is biogas, you might ask, because I think not a lot of people really know about biogas. Biogas is a form of renewable energy which is created by the fermentation of waste products. What that means is companies are going to take garbage, compost, and other forms of waste that we produce, on a day-to-day basis as a society, and then they put them in these big vats, and through anaerobic fermentation, it produces methane gas, which is pretty much biogas. Biogas is a mixture of methane, I believe hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and a couple of other gases. And these gases are therefore a form of renewable energy because the companies quite simply take garbage that we as a society get rid of, whether it be food trimmings, food leftovers that we throw out, all of these kinds of waste can be converted into biogas. And what is biogas used for? Mostly it's used in the residential area and in some commercial areas such as restaurants. I work in restaurants, so I'm very familiar with it, but the vast majority of restaurants in North America and even I believe in Europe and in Asia use biogas to cook the food, right? If you think of stovetops, gas stoves, and gas ovens, they are using biogas. Homes that are, linked up with a gas stove will usually have gas heaters. They will have, other forms of gas energy inside of their own home. And as we move, forward as a society and we need more energy, this is one of the sectors that I think is going to increase a lot. And so I'm going to be putting some money into biogas. Another reason to invest in biogas is that a lot of companies that make biogas are still relatively small. You can get some good stocks for, under $10 per share. And whereas the petrol industry that, I was looking at is pretty much going to be limited. The major growth is going to be limited to the big players, which currently cost anywhere from $50 to $70, sometimes even those prices being in the US dollars per share, right? If you look at Exxon, it's, I believe, 57 today. Chevron is at like $76 per share. China oil or whatever it's called is also in that kind of ballpark. And then the other energy sectors that you could consider, which are the other renewable energies, such as hydroelectricity, the air electricity, I don't remember what it's called. Those are, a bit more expensive also, as they usually have much bigger infrastructure, which is, of course, going to increase the value of the company and the value of their stocks. Which stocks do I think people should look into? I've written down 3, depending on what you're looking for, and I have some statistics based on them. Personally, right now, as of today, I'm going to be investing, well, as of last week, really, I started investing into Greenlane Energy. I think Greenlane Consumables Incorporated, code GRN on the Toronto Stock Exchange. And I'm investing in this one because it is under $3 a share. Currently, I think it's at $2.57 as of posting of this video. So it is very affordable. You can buy a lot of shares for a decently low price, and it has been on a pretty steady growth since the beginning of 2020, basically. Pretty much since the end of the pandemic, since the end of the crash due to the pandemic, we've seen a pretty steady growth of about 400% in the first 7 months. And in the last 4 months, we've seen another growth of about 500%. So that puts us at a total of 1,200% increase since the pandemic crash happened in March of last year. And I think we're going to see a continuation of that growth. If you look at the stock graphs, you're going to see that it has been in a kind of a decline in the past week. I think there's 2 major factors for this. First of all, the entirety of the market has been kind of on a downturn. And as that happens, all of the stocks are going to go down, right? If you look at the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and the Dow Jones, you're going to see that all 3 of them across the board are trending downwards for the past week or so. And renewable energy has been going kind of down in the recent weeks due to what happened in Texas. There's been a lot of publicity of how bad renewable energies can be because of what happened in Texas, where the entire renewable energy grid was kind of shut down due to a single snowstorm. But I don't think that that kind of bad rap is going to extend into even into the near future in the coming weeks, because it's not based in facts. It's based on the fact that Texas had a snowstorm, its first snowstorm in, decades, if not more. I can't remember the last time that Texas had like a real considerable amount of snow, and this caused all of their infrastructure for renewable energy to freeze. I don't think you're going to see that, and if you're investing into Canadian renewable energy, you'll know that we are used to those kinds of temperatures. We're used to having sub-zero temperatures, and so we've never really had a problem, except if you go back maybe to 1998 in Quebec during the crise du verglas, which caused the entire network to shut down. But that wasn't so much because of the infrastructure, rather it was because of the power lines that were damaged due to severe accumulation of ice, right? So personally, I'm going to be investing into Greenlane Energies. Other options for you are CVX Consumables, code XBC on the Toronto Stock Exchange. This is another very interesting stock if you're looking for a steady growth. It's been going up since 2017. And in the 2 years between 2017 and 2019, it has gone up 1,000% from about 11 cents a share to about $1.20 per share. And then since 2017 to January of 2021, it's gone up another 900%. So in that 4-year period, had you invested in 2017 at 11 cents a share, you would have, increased the value of those shares by 19 folds, which is insane. And then sadly, in the last month, again, partly because of what's happening in Texas, we've been seeing kind of a decline. So it's been down 15%, with 10% of that decline happening in the last week and a half. Partly because of the stock market being down, partly because of the Texas incident. Finally, the last one, if you have a bit more money to invest, if you're looking for a renewable energy sector, but you're willing to put that, $25, $50 per share into it, I would personally look into Brookfield Renewable Energy Incorporated, which is code BEP-UN on, again, the Toronto Stock Exchange. I believe as of making this video, it's at $54 per share, and they are a company that deals in hydroelectricity. So they have dams across, I believe it's mostly Western Canada. I didn't do as much research on this company as I probably should have, honestly. But I think it's a good alternative if you're looking to invest. And I think in the future, I'm going to start investing into this company as I diversify my energy portfolio, later on, probably at some point next year. So yeah, I think those 3 shares, that is Greenlane Renewables, code GRN, CVX Consumables, code XBC, and Brookfield Energy Partnerships, codes BEP.UN, are the 3 stocks that I recommend you look into. Before I leave, I just want to say, this is not financial advice. If you are planning to listen to what I'm saying and you want to go and invest into these companies, I strongly recommend that you go and further your own research. I will leave some links in the bio down below that you can go and look for articles, for statistics on these companies. And this way, you can make your own choice based on what you are reading, right? I think this is a good introduction to these companies. It's a good way to start getting into these companies if you didn't know about them. But I'm not telling you go and buy this stock. I'm telling you go and look into this stock. And if after you look into it, you want to buy it, I think that's great. And I think personally, these stocks are going to be good picks. So if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing down below. I'm going to try and keep on doing some more content like this and more content about my personal financial situation in the coming weeks and months. And I hope you have a good one. I'll see you guys next time.